On the first episode of this series, I bought a 40-year-old skid steer for $1,800 on Facebook Marketplace. I put in new battery terminals and a Group 31 battery, redid some of the wiring on the ignition, and got it to turn over. I put in a new air filter, drained the old oil, put in a new oil filter, an oil filter housing gasket, and topped it off with fresh diesel engine oil. With a little help from some starting fluid, I was able to get it fired up. Just like last time, be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for a financial tally using Jobber Software, thanks to them for sponsoring this video, to see how much this project has cost me so far. And out of respect, I don't want to waste your time, so I am here from many, many months in the future to say I ended up giving up on fixing this skid steer. I'll explain a lot more about why at the end of the video, so if you want to figure that out first before you invest whatever amount of time this video is, I think it will still be entertaining because I am fixing things, but you will see the level of frustration rise over the course of this video. And it will probably give you more insight towards the end why I ended up just saying I'm done with this thing. And I will reiterate, we're going to go over all the expenses and the money that I made both from selling the skid steer and from my first YouTube video. It's spoiler alert, I still lost a ton of money, and that's if I put a value on my time, I'm probably out thousands and thousands of dollars. But anyways, I didn't want to try and clickbait you and make you watch the whole video only at the end to say, hey, I sold it. I want you to know that going into this video so you can make your own decision about whether or not you're going to watch the whole thing or just skip ahead to the end. I know these aren't the approved way to cover hydraulic fittings. Just I don't want to hear about it, but I removed the lines. The way this should have worked when it was new, these hard lines would have come into two soft lines that made a bend. And they would have bent around to underneath here where there would have been two more hard lines that went down underneath here, came down, and those hard lines would have continued down and around here. From there, soft lines would have come into the cylinder. My guess is something at some point happened to those hard lines, and instead of fix them, they just replaced them with soft lines. This is the one that was dripping, that you could see the leak from when I was running the engine. All of these bucket hoses are just in terrible shape. See this thing here? I mean, look at that. The thing's almost breaking in half. You can see wetness there. They're just not safe at all. Most of the other hard lines look like they're fine. And the other soft lines that just connect hard lines, they don't look terrible. They don't look great. These should be the only lines that are a safety hazard. It's also the largest run of line, so it's going to be the most expensive to fix. It's been about 5 days since I dropped the hoses off, but I know you guys are probably not happy with my Ziploc hydraulic solution. So I went to Amazon and coughed up the money. I'm hoping this is a JIC 37. Based on what I see, that's what it looks like. Oh, this is perfect. Look at that. See, if I just would have done that from the beginning, I wouldn't have wasted oil in here, and I also spilled some oil on the concrete, which obviously is not great for the environment. So, wish I would have started with this. No, it needs to be one bigger. Yeah, let's try this guy. Oh yeah, there you go. That works. I had somebody else comment something about, I don't understand why someone would do something I did. And I mean, he wasn't trying to be mean. It was an excellent point. And he was absolutely right that what I did was wrong. I think it was about starting the engine when I didn't know if, it had any kind of hydrolock issues or anything. But what you got to remember about me is I have no clue what I'm doing with diesel machines or really hydraulics. So if you're sitting yourself saying, why is he doing that? That's so stupid. Yeah, that's why. It's because it's stupid and I don't know any better. I'll come back through and snug all those up real nice with a second wrench. So that's how that should have been done from the beginning. That way no water has any chance of getting in those cylinders and, you know, messing them up. I don't believe it's the end of the world that they sat, you know, for a few days with those Ziploc bags on them. We've got them all buttoned up now. We got a call that our hoses are ready, so we're going to pick those up. I'm also wanting to see if I can get some metal. This one would be for stepping into the machine, so I don't have to step here or on the pedals. If you look in the previous video, I came close to getting one of my toes crunched by this frame as it's coming down. There's supposed to be a lot of panels here keeping your feet protected, and they're just not here. So let's go to the hydraulic shop. I'm going to drop off my firstborn son to pay for those hoses, and we'll go to Tractor Supply for some metal. I picked up the hoses from the shop, but there's a OSHA lady inside. I think she's doing a routine inspection, so I didn't want to film in there, mess anything up. She came in as I was coming out, and I guess because, you know, my outfit has a logo and I had glasses on, safety glasses, she was like, "Hey, can I follow you in?" And I'm like, "I'm just a customer. I've got don't look at me, I didn't do anything." But anyways, what I wanted to show you guys is they do equipment rentals here too. They've got some pretty nice stuff. So who knows, maybe after buying enough 40-year-old skid loaders, if I keep flipping them, I might be able to afford something like this one day. I'm joking, of course. I don't think that skid steer would sell for much. I don't really think it's something you could flip. Even like, my goal with it is mainly just to get it completely safe and completely functional. And if I can do that for $5,000 or $6,000, then that's going to be a deal compared to anything else that's on the marketplace right now. There's nowhere you can find, you know, a machine that doesn't have any issues for less than 15,000, 20,000. Got a little John Deere excavator here. I don't know if this would still be considered a mini excavator. I think it would be. And a Kubota cab model here. This is one of the few places in my town that do repairs like this. That's, you know, a real company, not some guy in a shade tree somewhere. They're good people to work with in my limited experience. Well, it doesn't look like much, but this is what $700 worth of hoses looks like. You can see we've got a big replacement line for this guy. We went ahead and just deleted this fitting. There's no sense in it. Did the same thing over here. We've got this big run that'll come right from those back hard lines, and then it'll tuck in behind the that frame that almost took my foot off. And we were able to reuse the fittings. I'm hoping they're still good. This one looks real bad, but at least if that breaks, it's gonna be, you know, easy to just plug that line and then take that fitting. I don't need anybody to make new hoses or anything. All right, so for our front bracket, we got 29 inches. And on the back part, we have 28 and a half. Oh, the old clamp it to some cat litter trick. On second thought, let's move out a little bit. If it's stupid, but it works. It's not stupid. know if this is going to line up if I pop this off or not. Thank you to the gentleman in the comments who suggested this coil. I went ahead and picked some of that up. It's not cheap. He said it's really good, so these bolts are just not moving at all. It smells pretty good too. We'll also give it a hit on this exhaust. There we go. Well, there's not much left of that guy. It's not getting on this bottom or this top. I don't know why this thing is like spring loaded, but it's lifting up as I'm unscrewing this. Well, now this one's coming out at least. Yeah, this thing is not lining up. Man, that is rough. So I'm thinking it'll go something like... That should give a good step for getting in and out. Actually, that'll probably keep my feet safe too, because I can't go further than that. I can still engage it all the way, but yeah, I think that'll work. Alright, so these were the nicer of the two bolts. I'll still see if these can clean up, but I don't have much hope for them. But I just want to test this out and see if this proof of concept will work. No, the holes don't line up. I'm going to have to mess with that. That's how much I was off. Pretty bad. That might be it. Still got a lot to do, but looks like that'll work. So a little change of pace before we finish that platform that I want to get done. I did have several folks in the comments say that the cord that I thought was some type of heater was indeed a heater. Someone also suggested doing this, what I'm doing, to clean the contacts and see if that works. It looks like whenever somebody painted it last time, they spray painted everything. So that's not perfect, but I think it's good enough to see if it's gonna work. We also did get a new drill bit. This and this is as far as I got on the old drill bits before they just completely gave up. Ow. Man. I don't think I could call it a good morning if I didn't break my own wrist with a brand new drill bit. I don't think there's any hope of this one lining up. That one should be okay. And that one's gonna be rough. Here's some bolts, some nylocks, and some washers. These are not long enough. Attempt number 2. Let's see if we can take it off. Now, this guy fits in good. He gets in there. And then the last guy here, he fits in there. So we'll install these with washers and lock nuts, and then this little project will be done. I'm pretty happy with this. This will give me a little bit of a step up, and you know, it's not gonna go anywhere. So now I can step onto this and turn around without having to worry about stepping on those pedals. So I want to see if this fuel shutoff can be swapped over here. In the manual, it looks like the ignition should be here and the fuel shutoff should be here. If you remember, that would not fit there, and I don't want to drill that out if I don't have to. There's the back of the shutoff. It looks like if I just back that off, that nut, I should be able to move it. It looks like they welded something on there, doesn't it? So if this didn't fit the key, that's not fitting the key. So you got some corrosion in that too. I wonder if penetrating oil would be okay there, you think? I found this old 3/4 inch bit. I have no clue if it'll even cut. Well, I'd been going at it for quite a few minutes and I don't think it's cutting anymore. This may be stupid, but I'm just gonna see if I can file it out. Let's back this all the way off. Oh yeah, it goes through now. Good. All right, so if I do have glow plugs, which again, I don't think I do, it's to the right. And then to the left would start it. I wanna make sure and blow out as many of those metal filings as I can. That is the hydraulic filter. That's gonna be coming up next on our list. While we've got our air hose, see if we can get this back on the bead. It looks like there's a tube in there, but I don't think it's holding any air. I had a buddy of mine who knows more about these machines than I do said that he thought these 715s would be pretty narrow for anything that I would likely do. So instead of dumping money into these, let's just see if we can find some 10/16 and a halves, but that'll be for another day. So this guy's been plugged in for hours and hasn't done anything as far as heat, so I think it's safe to say that's broken. Might be wiring. I'm gonna see if I can fix it. If not, we'll put in a new one. This is one of the frustrating things I've been dealing with the past couple of weeks. It's the middle of January in Florida, but we've been having some pretty intense rainstorms. I can't really do my hydraulic stuff when it's raining or sprinkling, so hopefully this thing passes in a little bit and I can put those new hoses on. These are the brackets and nuts that hold those hoses. I thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing this. This is a pass-through ratchet set. Here you've got your standard 9/16, right? And you're never going to be able to drive a nut on a post deeper than the bottom of that, right? Because it'll bottom out. So this solves that problem. It's really neat. You just pop them in, and it's got this pass-through where if there's a post, you can keep working it on a stud or a post or whatever it is, and you know you can still ratchet in either direction, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This was given to me by a very good friend, and this is actually the first time I've ever been able to use it on a project. The way these things work, this needs to get tightened, then these things go over it, and then you tighten another nut on. So you can see we've got this post that my normal ratchet wouldn't get to, but this one, it slides right over it. This weather does not want to see me fix these hydraulics. All right, our cylinder hydraulics are all connected. I don't love how they're routed, but that'll be a worry for another day. So I looked up a Wix hydraulic filter that cross-matched to a Napa filter, which is this guy right here. It needs to be installed there, and I'm terrified that oil is just gonna pour out as soon as I crack that canister open. I don't know what all these bungees are, but I think I need to take them off. I don't want to make another mistake like I did with the oil filter. So I haven't been able to get it to budge, so I spent some time cleaning up that bottom ring because there was some crud all around it. Then I noticed how dented this thing is, and I'm wondering if somebody tried to get it off another time and couldn't. If they resorted to, you know, big old clamps, they might have broken the mount, and that's why it's bungee tied up the way it is now. So measuring that, looks like I need a 1 1/4 socket, and I think that's going to give me the best hope of getting that thing off. Of course, the only one they had at the store was the deep socket, which is not what I need in this instance. Of course. Oh man, I just broke that thing. That's what moved, not the filter. Whatever this is pretty loose. I might be able to just use another plug. Oh no, that's not a JIC. Oh, that's the wrong fitting. All right, I think I have the right fitting for it. I honestly don't know. Oh, I don't think it is the right one. That is not right. So it's either the wrong fitting or the wrong size. Let me get one size up. All right, so the issue I have is this was a JIC to something fitting. It's not an ORFS, which is the other kit I have. So I need to go see if I can find this at Napa or that hydraulic shop, this fitting, because I broke it. If I can zoom in and see, that dark line is a crack. That's a crack from where I bent it. The good news is this OFRS, whatever this fitting is, it's not right, but it fits in there. I'm gonna have to find some kind of plug for that so I can undo the hose and cap it off. I wonder if I could use one of these big old things. You know what I'm seeing now as I'm looking, I think what's created those dents was this thing banging into it as it drove. This hardware looks new comparatively, so I'm wondering if they got bolts that were too long and that's why they're smashing into that canister. I think I need like a flathead screwdriver to chisel that pipe off the hose. I don't feel like doing that. I'm just going to see if I can find that fitting at any of the local places and we'll go from there. Got a few things from Amazon. These are like universal leak stoppers. You know, they've got different sizes so you can stick them in. This one will do 5/16 of an inch to an inch. So this will be good for when I get that, if I get that hydraulic filter off. NPT plugs, these are what I needed. These are just, you know, China things from Amazon. They end up being a little bit under $1 a plug. And Napa had the hydraulic fitting that I needed and it was fairly reasonable. Something tells me I'm going to need a new hose down here too. This machine is incredibly frustrating to work on. I'm having to kneel on this hard metal and straddle this thing to try and reach all this stuff. Reaching that hose down there is just a complete pain, and I can't fit two hands in it because I need one hand to support myself. There's not quite enough room underneath to crawl under. I guess I could jack it up and put it on some wood blocks, but I don't know. This bracket that holds it is extremely floppy. Hopefully that's just bolts that need to be tightened. I don't know. This clamp's just in the perfect spot, and the hose below it's pushing up in just the perfect way, so I can't actually get the ratcheting end of this on. Let's see if I can do this without killing myself. So this is how I'm sitting to try and reach down here, and it's not working. That's where that hose comes out. I think it's just going to be easier to pull it out there than try and do what I'm doing. I've got like 6 to 8 inches, which means we're going to have to jack this thing up and take the wheels off. Well, at least this project is keeping me on my toes and is forcing me to confront problems from different angles. Ideally, there wouldn't be any problems, but then again, I am the one who bought the cheapest skid steer on the marketplace. So what did I expect? So this first one had 1 inch, this one has 7/8. Kind of like a grab bag here. There's some kind of motor oil on one of those studs. What? Is that like your field mechanics anti-seize or something? This one right here. What is that? I don't know. I probably should have blocked this side before I lifted it up, because now I've got the tires taking up some of that distance. Oh well, first time I've ever jacked up a skid steer, so again, I have no clue what I'm doing. So I just noticed something while I was doing this. I'm going to zoom in on it right here, but I am fairly certain that is weeping from that hydraulic fitting. I think that might be the one that I said I didn't have much confidence in. It looks like, well, the good news is Tractor Supply sells fittings. I think I should be able to take care of that on my own without having to go back to the hydraulic shop. So I've been at this for about 30 minutes and I'm thinking I need to work smarter, not harder. Okay, we're very close now. All right, you guys ready? Because I'm not. Oh, that did not look good. Okay, that was about an hour of work. And again, if I would have just done this from the beginning, I would have saved a lot of time. Well, that was an event. This section here looks suspiciously like a broken bracket, which probably does a lot to explain why I found this the way I did. Made sure our O-ring didn't get stuck in there. Here's the next in a long line of stupid things I'm trying to fix this dumb skid steer. Didn't work. All right, now I'm getting desperate. Oh, there we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, you have wait, which one of these things is supposed to be spinning? What in this? All right, so that's what I'm assuming the filter goes around. There's no oh my God. You know what? Unbelievable. Oh, this isn't good. What? Look at, that's like the ring from a that's like the ring from a oil bottle or something. This, not great. Pretty rusty in there too. Good enough. That might be why they didn't ever put a new filter in, because this thing won't fit one. I would like to do this right, and I think that would mean getting a new part or somehow smoothing this out, but I'm not sure how. So I might just see if I can make it fit over the filter. Once I get all this hooked back up, I'll unscrew this and pour hydraulic fluid in through that top hole, just so the system doesn't have all that air in there. But for now, this part's done. I can't believe that thing didn't even have a filter in it. So not only does this oil look really bad, but according to the manual I've got, there is a 20-gallon reservoir for the hydraulic fluid in this machine. And I haven't even drained 10. This is the hydraulic oil filter bracket. That's what I think happened. See how the clearance ends right here. But then there, clearance is all right there. So again, I don't know if I'm wrong in thinking that that looks newer. It does look like that's probably what caused that thing to get beat up. All right, I've wasted all of today on an incredibly stupid mistake, so I'm going to explain that to you. So my goal was to replace all of those bolts with shorter ones. So I got a bunch of metric bolts that are just a little bit shorter and a little bit thicker. They were so close to the old ones that I didn't think it would matter. And the new ones actually do fit through the coupler fine, but the two longer bolts do not fit through the drive shaft. So this drive shaft is split right here. There's a hole drilled into each one. 2 bolts go through that. 4 bolts clamp the whole thing on. And the hole through the drive shaft is smaller than the hole in the couplers, which means this bolt got just through the coupler and then it bound up. Now at that point, I should have just stopped, pulled the bolt, and said, this isn't gonna work. But, stupid idiot that I am, I said, I think I can force it through. So then I spent 5 minutes hammering it in, and it went in a little bit. I had a bad feeling in my gut, but I was already committed. So then I spent 30 minutes hammering it in, and it got to right about here and would not go any further. So it was stuck in that left-hand hole. So then I had to waste about 2 hours getting it out. It's just stupid all around, very stupid. So finally got that bolt out. You can see how it just wore the threads to nothing. Went and got an M8 instead of an M10, so I'm hoping this fits. When I was trying to get that bolt unstuck, I said, well, maybe if I just take the drive shaft out, that'll work. These 3 nuts come off of this pillow block housing, but this nut is just spinning on the stud. I don't know what it's even attached to. So I wasted 30 minutes doing that, trying to figure that out, and then I had to put it back together. All that to say, the past 2 days have been spent just wasted on that mistake that I made, which that's what's frustrating to me. I don't necessarily mind that there's a lot of issues to chase down on this thing, but when it's something I did because I made a stupid choice and I wasted a day and a half just getting back to the starting position, that is frustrating. The other thing that's annoying is I'm going to put all this together because, again, all I'm focused on for this part is hydraulics. I'm going to have to take that coupler off again because the drive belt goes from there to there, and that's how you get it off. But I don't want to mess with that part of it because there's other steps to putting the belt on. So it's like, so it's just one of those weird spots in the project where everything is like super annoying and frustrating, and it's putting me in a bit of a mood. But again, I don't have anybody to blame but myself because I'm the one that bought this machine. Now we need to tighten up these little bracket bolts. I couldn't find the piece that broke off, so there's nothing for me to fix. So I'm just gonna have to go with what's there. See if I can tighten that down some. Picked up a new hose. I have no clue if this is what I need, but 50 bucks. I didn't really want to do this, but I also don't want to do this again. Oh, that fits on real nice. I shouldn't have put that fitting on and tightened everything up first, because now I can't fit it in. Maybe I'll just take the hose off. Man, it kinked. Son of a... God bless America. That's what I get for buying cheap hose. This took about 2 weeks to get in. My Napa didn't have it, so there was some kind of mess up with who they were getting it from. They ordered it from some store that took a week and didn't send it, so then they ordered it from their DC. I have no clue. When I finally got it, I was in the middle of a stormwater project, so I couldn't do anything with it. Now I've got a free day. Let's see if we can put it on. The issue, this suction line, you can bend. You can see how tight that radius is, and it's not kinking up, right? That's what you want. I tried to cheap out with that radiator hose. That's basically all they had that one day, and you can see it's kinked, so don't waste your money on that. The sad thing is that hose was actually more expensive than the hydraulic line that I got. So now we got to take everything back apart and see if we can get the right hose in. And this is the hose that came off. I almost regret even taking this old hose off because of the headache and cost that has come about from it. It's been like 3-week delay and probably at least $100 just for this hose. The issue is when I pulled it off, I nicked it, and now you can see some of that cabling or knitting or whatever you call it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was original to the machine too. So it's one of those things where I really didn't want to, but I think it'll be better in the long run. Well, I did not film that because I thought it would be terrible, and it was. But we have the new hose hooked up and we have the filter installed again. So now, you know, oh gosh, I was gonna fill this, but I just realized I'll never be able to get this off because of where it's at. Yeah, see, I can't get that out. So my plan of making sure there was no air in the hydraulic system by filling that filter housing up, guess what? That's not gonna work. As if that's any surprise at this point in this project. Well, if the hydraulic pump dies, it dies. I don't know what to say anymore. I'll just leave it cracked. Maybe some air will bleed off. I don't think so, but all right, I'm just gonna fill it there then, and I'm not gonna film it because I'm fed up. So we just hit the minimum mark with 10 gallons. And I think I'll probably, if I get a little over maximum, that's okay, because there's a lot of air in the system. And now we're at maximum, so we'll go ahead and run it and see what happens. All right, here goes nothing. I think it's been probably a month since this thing was started. Well, looks like my battery might be dead. We got 13.8 volts, which I'm no expert, but I think should be enough to start it. Oh, no, the ground cable was just loose. Huh. I think this just might be a bad terminal connection, or I don't know. I can't remember if I stripped this one back like I did the positive. Okay, so I just need new battery cables. These things are, I stripped them back another inch and they're all still corroded. I think this is my issue, so we will be back with some battery cables. I also just remembered that I forgot to tighten down that filter. So let me go do that before it rains, which it is going to tomorrow. This skid steer is trying my patience, I tell you what. So I'm disconnecting the old battery terminals so I can get new ones and see what I need. The terminal that went here was red. Terminal that went here was black. When I chased the end of the red wire, red terminal wire back, you know where it went? It's attached to the frame. And I already pulled it out, but the black cable, or rather the cable that had a black terminal, went to the back of the starter. I have no clue how it even started the first time. I'm so confused. Like, did I have the battery backwards when I started it? Because red should be running to your starter and black should be your ground. I think in between starting it the first time and trying to start it just then, I had disconnected the battery. So I can't rule out that when I put the battery in the first time, I actually had flipped it so it was hooked up right, correct. I mean, right now, red is over here with positive and black is over here negative. So I'm just so confused. And I'm also not happy at all because this has some kind of a bolt with a nut on the back side. And I can't get to the back side because it's in some kind of a thing. Just another in a long line of fixes that if this were a machine that was produced in the last 10 years would be super easy. But because it's this 40-year-old skid steer, it's like everything takes way longer than you think it should. And that's it. That's the last thing I filmed for this project. I went and did some research, and I don't understand electrical systems, so I'm probably saying this wrong. But from what I saw, it looks like the Awatana was a negative ground system. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the research I did, and this was like months ago that I did the research, so I'm going off of memory. But it made me think that it being backwards, the way I thought it was backwards, is how it was supposed to run. So I hooked everything back up the way it was. And then wires started smoking. I'm like, you know what? I'm just done. So it sat, and I tried to list it. I put it on Marketplace for like, I don't know, $4,500. Somebody offered, I don't know, $3,500, and I said, no, that's too low. And then nobody ever asked about it again for a month. So then, you know, I tried listing it again at like $4,000, and somebody said, well, what about $3,000? I said, no, that's too low. And nobody wanted anything to do with it for another couple months. And so I was like, I don't need to sell it. I would like to get it running. I think it'll have more value running. So maybe I'll just hang on. If I can't, you know, make all my money back, let me just keep it until the next winter project. And now I'm getting involved in this trash thing, and I need the space. I need the mental clarity of not having that project hanging over my head, and I need the space in the driveway. And I also want to say that even if I had gotten it started, which, you know, I'm looking at it like, how long is it going to take me to figure out this electrical thing? Is it possible that I fried the starter? Is it possible that there's a fuse blown somewhere that I don't know anything about? Am I going to have to redo the key switch, the ignition, or redo all those wires? Like, whatever's wrong with it now electrically is still a huge question mark. I could not for the life of me figure out how to replace that the black cable that I told you went to the frame, because it wasn't just a bolt. It was like a bolt and a nut, but the nut was in some void that I physically could not get to. It was like in a frame member or something. And my hand, there was no access point to the back. So I was like, I don't know how this is supposed to come off. I drilled into the frame and made a new ground to do the testing, you know, when everything started sparking. So the sparking could have been because I did a bad ground. I don't know. The point was, I was now facing this electrical issue, which is not my strong suit at all. I don't know anything about wiring or schematics, or, you know, it's all Greek to me. Even if that issue wasn't there and I could have gotten the machine started, I want you to remember that the drive system was still a giant question mark. I had a new drive belt, but the machine, I never had a chance to see if it steered because the belt that was on there snapped as soon as I started it the first time. It was not the right belt. It was a very weak belt, and it was already ripped in half. So I'm sitting there. This electrical issue is in front of me. The drive system is still ahead of me. Who knows if that is going to be an easy fix or not? Who knows if it even works? I may have to pop all those wheels back off so I can get access to the drive systems. And there's chains in there. There are clutches in there that, to get replacement clutch parts are like $600 if one of them's bad. If both of them are bad, all the tires are going to have to be redone before I can work with it. So it was one of those things where I didn't want to throw good money after bad. I was like, I think it might be time to cut my losses. Probably if the garbage thing hadn't started, I would have just said, well, let me just keep it until next winter, and then, I'll have more time from the lawn care side, and it won't be as miserable to work on because it won't be hot. But the more I thought about it, the less I wanted anything to do with that machine. And so this last round, I listed it for $3,500 on Marketplace, and somebody said, hey, my dad, he's 81, he's interested in it. Would you do $2,500? And so at this point, I'm like, I'm thinking of how stupid I was the first time for not saying yes to $3,500. So I was like, do I want to repeat history a third time? I was like, nope, just come get it. Come get it for $2,500. It's yours. Get it out of here. And that's what you're watching. These folks showed up, like a few days later, and they were great to work with. They knew what they were doing. They helped a lot getting it loaded. Obviously, the Ventrac helped a lot. First, I want to talk about the fact that I completely failed in what I set out to do. And hindsight being 2020, I would not have bought this skid steer. But that's the thing about hindsight. I like watching Diesel Creek. I like watching Andrew Camarada. I like watching a few other guys, Jesse Mueller. Because of that, I thought that I would like fixing up old things and getting them running. And what I found out is I don't like doing it, at least on old machines where everything is such a pain to work on. There was not one thing about this project that was easy to do. Maybe the air filter. I realized that I was completely wrong. I don't enjoy fixing up old machines. I just enjoy watching people fix up old machines. I spent $4,321.75 on this skid steer. Keep in mind that does not value my time. I did not keep track of the hours, and quite frankly, I'm glad I didn't. $60 of that was tools that I bought that I did not need. Of course, I didn't know I didn't need them until after I bought them and they were useless. I spent $100 in waste parts I didn't need. Again, until I got them, I didn't realize I didn't need them. I spent $423 in tools. I spent $575 in supplies, hydraulic oil, diesel oil, and then parts. These were things that physically went on the machine. And then the skid steer itself was $1,800. So at this point, you can see Jobber on the screen. This will be something, if you want to pause and look, you can do so for a better viewpoint. But these are all the specific line item charges that I incurred over the course of this, and you can see where I bought it from. Obviously, this isn't what this Jobber software was made for, but it is very helpful to track all your expenses, especially if you do project work. If you want to help me make a little money to offset my costs, there's a link in the description where you can try Jobber yourself. You get a discount code and a free trial as well. But I've been using Jobber to run the lawn care business and the trash business as well, and I really like it so far. One of the only negative things about it I can say, and that's because I'm sitting in the middle of a tropical storm and having to update people, is that it doesn't have an easy way inside of the CRM to bulk message. That's the only bad thing I can say about Jobber. Everything else is working out really great. So the only way I made money on this project was from selling the skid steer and from the first YouTube video that did make me some revenue. I sold the skid steer for $2,500 and made about $1,100 on that first video. That means against my expenses of $4,321.75, I brought in $3,628.90 and ended up losing $700 on this project. Financially, this was a tremendous failure. Morally, this was a tremendous failure. Emotionally, this was a tremendous failure. The only good thing that comes from this is the knowledge that I have gained that I do not enjoy fixing up old machines. I just like watching people do it on YouTube.